Hello and welcome to the program On the Move in Doordarshan. My guest in this edition of the program is a philosopher himself, and he brings interesting dimensions as far as making philosophy more useful to the people. I am extremely honored to have with us Professor Roman Meinhold from the Graduate School of Philosophy and Religion, Assumption University, Bangkok. Welcome to this program,
Hello,
sir.
Partho. Very nice meeting you.
Yeah. So what brings you to Shillong?
Okay, I'm coming for a conference on globalization and ethnicity here at the Lady Keane College in Shillong.
Okay. So, sir, critics have welcomed your in fact, seminal work on fashion myths, in which you have said, they have said an entire new world will open up once you go through this writing of Professor Roman Meinhold. Sir, why do you see that this has to be taken at a critical angle? You go into a mall, you see window shopping or whatever, you go and buy certain things. Do you think that there is a clear case of a policy of these corporations to peddle their products to ensure that we are victims of consumerism?
Yeah, I'm not sure, if we can say victims, but of course the major aim of those corporations is to sell their products, and they are doing that with all kinds of means. And so what I was basically interested in is to which philosophical, anthropological implications advertisements correspond. And so it seems that large corporations seem to answer very deep human needs about love, about friendship, about security, and so on. And this is what is basically embedded in the advertisements. This is when I thought there is a need to create a notion which corresponds to those values, which are, so to speak, behind the products and services, which I have called meta goods. Right. And meta goods are values or symbols of values which are somewhat hidden in the advertisement, but hidden in a very obvious way, Right. So, for example, that you want to buy a watch, but implicitly it is called, okay, with this watch you will buy strength, because the watch is made of steel, and then the person who is advertising the watch is maybe a famous, well-built tennis star or whatever, So we are implicitly hoping that we can buy these values by buying such goods,
Right, sir. And do you think they have been successful in their process, sir?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yes, I think they've been very successful.
Sir, globalization has also brought certain degree of homogenization of the market. So it is very easy for this corporate. So they have certain brands, and they go for certain values which would immediately cling, as you said, as you suggested. Right. Tell us a little bit about the aspect of fashion. Let's go deep a little bit on that, sir.
Okay, if one takes a deeper perspective and looks very close at fashion, one can see that there are a lot of philosophic anthropological implications in fashion advertisements, for example, and in our everyday dealing with fashion. So I can mention some of them.
Right.
For example, as I think especially in the Western context, I've lived in Africa for 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't notice that in the African context in the same sense, in the same way. But in the Western context, we Westerners have a huge problem with aging and death. Maybe because of our metaphysical implications, but so especially women, but now also men, they try to appear as young as possible, and they try to buy always new things, and with buying new things you somewhat pseudo reincarnating yourself, so you become new with your new products, and that does not only apply to fashion, it applies to mobile phones and cars and so on. And so when we observe that, we have to say, well, what are the values, what are the core values, and are there any possibilities that we can discuss these core values? But I mean, I'm not an expert if it comes to religion, but what I'm worried about is similar to this therapeutic implication of consumerism is that there is also a religious, spiritual dimension in consumerism. And of course also consumerism, well, consumer products, advertisements and so on, they try to take over this field in that regard, that they imply religious and spiritual meta goods in these products and services. This is my fear. And in that regard, one is not really focusing on real spirituality and real religion, but one is basically celebrating a kind of pseudo religion. So that is my concern. And
you brought this excellent dimension of the human evil and all that. Sir, in regard to philosophy, at the end, if I have to ask you, how it can change life, how can it change the attitude of people, how do you see philosophy can make a change in life?
Philosophy helps you to open your mind. It helps you to consider unfamiliar ideas, to take new perspectives, and to view things critically, to have a deeper look at the phenomena we are experiencing in our everyday life. I mean, there needs to be the history of philosophy and the analytic approaches to the very complex phenomena, but there also needs to be a certain practical dimension of philosophy, and it is quite a pity that philosophy is only associated with this ivory tower approach. I don't say this is not important. It is very, very important, but then there is this practical dimension as well. And of course, sometimes these let's say the university philosophy is looking a bit critical on this more practical approaches, and I think this is not justified, because I think both approaches, this more practical and the more theoretical approach, they are complementing each other, you know, and so we should support both of them.
You have furthered discourse in a great way. Thank you so much, Professor Roman Miller. Excellent talking to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes,